everybody. Welcome to season two of For the Love of Tinsel, your safe and cozy place to lean into your love of romantic Christmas movies. I'm Aisha,
And I'm Angela.
and welcome to the fifth episode of season two. Ah,
Yes,
so,
thank you.
Ange,
Episode 5. Yes, yes.
yes, episode five. So, Ange, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm starting to really dial down on my Christmas shopping and
I'm sorry, did you say dial down as if you
oh
were
yeah,
almost finished?
I'm getting
Oh,
there. I'm getting there.
I so hate you right now.
I
Okay,
know.
okay.
I'm actually I did some shopping when I was abroad and I feel really good about that.
Oh, let's brag a little more. I'm done with my shopping. I was
So,
traveling
when I was in
abroad. Okay.
Amsterdam, I
I see
bought some
you.
things for some
I see
people.
you.
And then but
Okay.
I have some more things to buy, but yeah. But also I'm just we just recorded this really great conversation with Clarence Williams, who
We
you're gonna
did.
hear in our behind the curtain. And it was really great. It was really inspiring. He has such great energy in terms of like, his enthusiasm for holiday movies, and I feel like it actually was good in terms of it got me remembering like what I love about working in that in
Mm.
in the holiday movie field, So it was really nice because you never know how the conversations are going to go, but I
I
thought it
agree
was
with you.
really
I
great.
agree with you.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's really smart and he's charismatic and he just seems he's talented. And it's just a treat for everyone. So
Yeah.
definitely make sure that you listen to that interview because it's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, but
absolutely
before
fantastic.
that,
Yeah.
let's talk about a movie, Aisha.
Let's talk about it. So, today we are going to review Amazon Freevee's Xmas, starring Leighton Meester and Robbie Amell, and the film is directed by Jonah Feingold and written by Dan Steele. So, I'm going to let you hear the description that
Oh, how's
Freevee.
this description, girl? Because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
descriptions
exactly,
are
right? Because
they're rough.
right. So right. So I'm just so I know that because I know everyone's is used to hearing something that makes them cringe no matter what. But this one isn't as bad. That's why I
Okay.
wanted you to
Mhm.
hear it. So this is how Freebie describes Xmas. Coming home for the holidays is never a dull experience, especially not for Graham, Amel, and Allie Meester, according to Freebie. So when Graham decides to surprise his family by traveling home for Christmas, he is shocked to discover them already celebrated with an unexpected guest of honor, Allie, who also happens to be his ex fiance. The two exes battle it out to see who the family will pick to stay through Christmas Day, which sounds bizarre, but that's
Yeah,
what
that's
happens.
that's that's critique
Who
number 1 about the premise,
there
but go
we
ahead.
to pick who will stay and who must go, and let the hilarious holiday chaos begin.
Mhm.
See, they had
So,
fun with it, but
they
again,
did, they did. Yeah, and they gave a lot of information without saying the whole movie, which
exactly,
I appreciate.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So,
yeah, yeah.
Angela, what did you think?
Okay, so let
Oh,
me begin by saying that,
I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
Robbie Amell,
Let's talk about him.
let's I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm,
wow,
mhm,
that's a
mhm,
handsome guy. I
mhm,
don't watch
mhm.
him in anything because he's in a lot of I'm gonna watch Upload, Aisha. She's been telling me to watch that for forever. I'm gonna watch that.
I have. I have.
I know, but, so for me, like, I see him, like, in celebrity magazines or whatever, but I've never seen him act, right? So, wow, he's handsome, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
he's
Yeah.
very charismatic,
He
and,
is.
he's, like, funny, and feels like a it's so funny, he feels like a guy that you would know, even though would you know that guy?
You would know he exists
You know he
around,
exists, but,
but would not know your name.
yeah, exactly.
And
You would
then
and
you'd be shocked if you actually said it, just
exactly.
shocked.
Yeah, and he would, like, one day, like, in school say, like, "Oh, yeah, you did great on your whatever," and walk away, and you would tell that story as lore
Over
to your
and
children.
over again, and it would get bigger and bigger, and it would slow down, and then he
It would.
slowly turned his head and looked you in the eye,
I know, or,
and
like, he's
gave
the
you a
guy who, like.
thumbs up.
Exactly. Or he patted you on the shoulder and you were like, "Oh my god." Anyway, enough about him. So he's great. I mean, it's not just that he's very handsome, which he is, but he really knows how to be sell the love stuff. Like, I felt like,
Yeah,
you know, what I appreciated about this movie is I felt like he and Leighton Meester had a real relationship. Like, a lot of these movies, it was like a couple that was together in the past, and then they kind of break up for really convoluted, nonsensical reasons. But they really did do a good job of you seeing ways that I mean, some of his work commitments are a little awkwardly handled,
agreed.
um but but you do kind of see why they split up, and you could see why they really wouldn't have communicated about it, which is like a flaw that they both have.
Right.
uh and I love the family, and I loved that there was, like, diverse people in the movie. But I will say a few things, which is that the premise, you have to really just go,
Yeah,
okay, it
let it
doesn't
no.
make any sense
No, no,
that Leighton
no.
Meester, his ex, would be at the house for Christmas, that they would invite. Okay, I can buy that maybe they invited her over for Christmas, though that's kind of a tricky one, but okay. But then that Leighton Meester and Robin Mel both are, like, battling to see who's gonna get booted. Spoiler alert, he's their son. So, like,
Correct.
Leighton, it's never gonna be you.
They're
It was
never
really
gonna kick out their
weird.
son for Christmas. I was like, "What do you mean?
Yeah.
Where's he gonna go? It's
What's
his family."
happening?
And
It
they
just
said all Christmases after. I'm like, "So he's never gonna go home for Christmas?" Like, I
it
don't
doesn't make
understand.
any
What are
sense.
you talking about?
And they
What's the
didn't
bet?
need it. They didn't need
No,
it. That was the thing that was really weird to me about it, was, like, they didn't need it, you know?
no.
Like, all
Look,
they had to do
yeah.
was, like, "How are we gonna deal with one another over this time?" Like, that would have been fine, but I don't know. So with that, I just had to be like, "Guys, I don't know. I don't know."
Right, I mean, listen, I pseudo understood him wanting to make them love her a little bit less. I
Mhm, mhm,
understood why he would wanna do that so that he
mhm,
doesn't seem like the jerk for not having her around. Um, I I get that. I also felt like they could have been a little bit more understanding. I don't know, anyone who breaks my son's heart,
mhm.
I'm just and either I know what happened because the family didn't even know what happened. They just knew
Yeah,
his heart got broken and they were like, "I'm sure it's fine." No, no, no. He's
I
very
know.
clear that she broke his heart. Like, it would have been different if he broke up with her.
Yeah, I
Then
thought that that actually
do you
would
know
have
what I
made more
mean?
sense.
It would
Yeah,
have made
yeah,
more sense if he had broken up with her and then you were like, "Ugh, my son, I don't know what was going on with him." But the fact that she broke his heart, they didn't
yeah.
seem to question that she had a good reason for
That
it.
was really
Was
weird.
that
Yeah.
was because I know with my baby boy, you break my son's heart, yeah, we're not gonna be besties.
Mhm.
We're just not. Although, if we're being honest, and since I know none of these people that I'm talking about are ever gonna listen to my podcast, I will say I was laughing because I was in a situation
Mhm.
where, the parents and I really got along the family and I got real along really well with an
Oh, yeah, I
ex.
remember that.
And and it was really hard for them when I wasn't around.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that I was the one that brought the fun. So
Mhm.
it was tough. I actually understood that part. That part I was like, it is hard. It is hard when you've bonded with people and they didn't do nothing and you didn't do nothing to them and you gotta let them go.
And
So
they
I was
were
like,
together for, like, 5 years. I mean, that's, like, a long time,
that's a
you know?
really long that's a long time. I loved the sisters. I thought the parents were
Mhm,
funny as all heck.
mhm,
I was like, "You
mhm,
guys are that's a good time." That is
mm.
I thought the shenanigans that they got into about competing with each other was not
Yeah,
where the writers spent their time. That's all
no,
I'm
no,
gonna
no,
say.
no, no. What I like about this movie is it being an Amazon freebie kind of thing. They want to do their own thing and they want to like make a place for themselves in this marketplace that is unique.
Right.
So what's different is, people are having sex, there's cursing, there's, like they're trying to get it to be a little raunchy, but then they're still sort of utilizing the holiday tropes that like opening baking sequence, and and there has to
Correct.
be like
Correct.
Christmas shenanigans and games, but they they didn't really know how to do the Christmas shenanigans part, and so it it was kind of the weakest part of it. And I don't know that they
Agreed.
even needed it, honestly. Like half of the things that they were kind of doing, I'm not sure that they needed. Um, so yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like I mean, I enjoyed it, but I did feel like there were some weak parts of it. Now what we were discussing offline or maybe texting or something. I mean, it was nice to see a movie that had like some kind of a budget,
Oh my
like
gosh, yes, like it wasn't on a camcorder. That's
yes.
really appreciated. I
Yeah,
was like,
like it
that was
has a budget. That movie had a
for
budget.
more than 2 locations also,
Mhm.
like, oh my goodness,
Mhm.
they're in another place. Look at
Yeah.
that, crazy.
There weren't a
Um,
lot of locations though, girl, but
there was not, but there was more than 2, and I noticed and I appreciated it. Like, there was a car lot,
Mhm.
hello?
I know, that's true. I was like, "Wow." Yeah, I mean, I was
Oh,
reading some other kind of reviews on it. What did you think? I mean, getting into some of our, categories, what did you think about their chemistry?
okay. Well, it's interesting actually because I really like Leighton Meester a lot.
Yeah, I love her.
I
Mhm,
think she's great at comedy
mhm.
and it's fun. And I've been a fan of Robbie because we're like that now. We're on a first name
Yeah, of
basis
course. Yeah.
for a while.
Mhm,
But that doesn't two beautiful people does not always mean that they're gonna do well together.
mhm.
And I actually thought that they were great. It wasn't overly hot, don't get me
No,
wrong,
no. Okay.
but I thought they were good at connecting with each other,
Mhm,
and you felt like these 2 could get it on,
mhm,
absolutely. I believe
mhm.
that yep, yep, I bought it. I was like, not only that, I appreciated it only because there's so much of a lack of that in so many of the other movies that the idea that these 2 people would be in bed together, which you never see.
Yeah,
Like,
I
now I'm not
know, I
talking
know.
about the act, I'm just, like,
Mhm.
literally being 2 people who might actually be in a bed, does not happen a lot in these movies.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
want you to use your imagination,
Mhm.
and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I appreciate also
Yeah, I thought they
She's
had good
good.
chemistry. I felt like, I mean, to your point, yeah, it was more they were 2 people I believed would be in love and would be together and made sense to me,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Um, and I also understood so this is kind of one critique, it's going off on a tangent, but I felt like her character was a little underdeveloped.
Oh,
In
agreed.
in terms of I just didn't
Agreed.
understand her motivations at all, and we didn't really have any information, and there's obviously something up with her family, somebody passed
Right,
away, I think it was her mom, there's something weird
right.
with the dad. It's like she would throw out these comments, and, this is where I will say the best friend this is why this best friend character exists in these movies.
Right, I think it was on the cutting room floor,
I
and let me
agree. I
tell
think
you
it's on the
why.
cutting room floor as well. I
And
agree.
let me tell you why, because they started it off with her best friend and the best
Mhm,
friend's husband, and they made it clear
mhm,
that they normally spend their Christmases together, and for this particular Christmas, her best friend had to spend Christmas with her in-laws, even though she didn't want to, right?
mhm, mhm,
And so you understood that her mom had passed, her dad has is always in some new relationship somewhere, and that she has a strong craving for a family, like one of your favorite movies. And I understand,
Mhm.
and I thought of you at the end. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna ruin it, but that
Mhm.
end was so
So while you were
from
sleeping. It was so
while
while you
you
were
were sleeping. It was so while you were
sleeping.
sleeping. Like, you were clearly not the only one who loves that as a Christmas movie, because
Mhm.
everyone I
Yeah.
was like, that's clearly the go-to. It was
Mhm.
and it was fine. I'm not saying it didn't work, but it was obvious where that came from.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like when the best friend and that conversation, she should have come back into the film. Like, I don't care if
Yeah.
your best friend's at your in-laws. She would have
Mhm.
come back into the film just
Yeah.
because that's the person you call. We didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to get to know her as a
Mhm.
person because they never had that scene. So in my heart, and this is me throwing a bone to the writer, you wrote it in there and then they cut it out because they were trying to make their time,
So
and
I have a
it
different
shows.
take on it actually, Aisha. I hear that and I counter with, I
I feel
think
like the writer
it was never in the script, and
no.
then they put the movie together and went, "Oops," and then did a reshoot
And stuck the
and
best friend in the
and stuck
beginning.
the best friend in the beginning. We'll never know, but I literally went, "This has reshoot written all over it."
That is
And even
hysterical.
when I was watching it with our producer, Dwayne Preview, and he
Yes.
was commenting,
I watch it
it's
with my
really
husband too. That's so
oh, that's so funny.
funny.
We was like, it was really a strange intercut. Her baking and then her having this conversation with her friends. It was awkwardly intercut, which made me go, "Oh, they're sticking in exposition up top. This was not
Okay.
in the script." And they were like, "Ooh, she's a little lean," so then
Yeah.
they threw that
Okay,
up top.
so listen, and for when you get to our behind the curtain,
Mhm,
this conversation, what I'm about to bring up is gonna mean something to you. But
mhm,
you know how I am about this. I always look to see who wrote the film, and it is
mhm.
written and directed by 2 men.
Uh-huh.
And right? And so,
Mhm.
I'm always
Yep.
whenever they're having to write for a female, I'm always like, I look to see, if you took a moment to like be able because they'll do the guys really well sometimes. And then the women are
Yeah.
like just so like, wait, we actually think about things before we do them.
Mhm,
We have a reason. It's not
mhm,
just action, even though I know that what it seems like to some on the outside. And whenever
mhm.
I see a lean female like that, I'm like, nah, who wrote this?
Yeah,
And,
yeah. No,
you
I
know
thought it too. I looked at it too and went, "Yeah, a guy wrote this," which is further my point of they stuck that stuff in the beginning
I get you.
because
No, but they yep. Someone was like,
yeah,
"She
it's
needs
just
more.
she's
She needs
underwritten,
more."
you know? She
She
just
really
really
is.
is. And I felt like there was an opportunity. You could have learned so much about her in interactions with other people in the family instead of these weird holiday
So
shenanigans that
much.
were like bizarre.
So much. I wanna believe as writers you wouldn't do this, but the fact of
Mhm,
the matter is that it was done. And,
mhm.
even the things like she has a weird fear, and I'm like, that is
Oh, I
something
don't
you
even know what
do
that fear was about. I don't know.
when
Somebody thought
you
that was funny, but I don't know.
right, but what I'm always like, that's something that you feel like you're learning about someone by just seeing them as opposed to
Mhm.
understanding the person behind
Right. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
fear, right? Like, this is what I
Yeah.
think a person like this would do or be like, as
Right.
opposed to thinking a little bit, deeper than that. And
Yeah.
that made me sad because I like the movie. I'm not gonna say too much more because I know we're about to give it a reading. I
Mhm.
did like it, but I it was so close to being more. It was so close.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
It could have
So,
been great.
yeah, it's true. So I was feeling that too. I was like, this is so close to being great, but just
So
doesn't quite
close.
get there. So
Yeah.
I had this thought, Aisha, and curious to see what you think about it.
Okay.
As these movies are coming out, I'm very curious about how the writer strike affects the development process of some of these movies.
Right,
Because,
right.
just a teeny bit of background for the audience. It's like, okay, as you guys know, there's a writer strike. It went on for a long
Mhm.
time. And so what that means for a movie in productions that let's say, they have a movie that they want to make that's been greenlit, but it's only had like a draft. And then and they can still make the movie because they physically have the scripts, but they can't do rewrites in earnest because there's a strike. Now,
Right.
so there's a lot. I think there's a lot of films that came out that didn't get the proper development process in this sort of holiday movie time, and so we're watching a lot of like first and second drafts of things. I could be wrong. That might not even be this movie, but I have been thinking a lot about wondering how the writer strike has affected these movies, because a lot of these movies were in that stage where, they'll greenlight a script, but that doesn't mean the script is done. They'll say, "We'll give you money, this production company, to make it. You're hiring actors, but all along the way, you're still getting notes and you're still making it better. You're making the script better until day one of shooting." And so I
Gotcha.
just wonder, we'll never know, but this script to me felt like a first draft or a second draft that by a strong writer, but like would have needed more, like a person who doesn't write holiday movies and
Right.
but has a really good idea and then kind of like wrote this, but I was definitely feeling like I I had some questions about that.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. That's very
So I don't
insightful.
know, just
Again,
something for the audience to think about. But
in
overall, I
general.
mean, yeah, in general. So Aisha, we should get to
Yes.
the ratings. What's your I
Okay.
feel like I always go first to say my rating. What's your rating?
Damn, way to like throw me under the bus. Wow. I mean, I gave the intro. I think you should be giving. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All
You
right. All
did
right.
do
All
the
right.
intro. Okay. But
I did, right?
yeah, you did.
All right. So
I
here's
don't
the
know.
thing.
I just
So
don't know.
just to
That's my
remind
problem.
everyone, I know that's fair because that's where I am. But anyway, um, just to let the audience know, we are basing our rating off of chemistry, family, holiday magic, conflict, all the feels and all that good stuff. And we're gonna and it's out of 10.
Mhm.
So I've watched a lot of holiday movies so far this year.
Aisha's seen a
And
lot more than me. This is the every week
you say that
refrain. So I just
every
want
episode. They don't need to know that.
Okay, anyway,
They
sorry.
don't need
Just
to
putting it
know
out
that.
there,
No
putting
one's
it out there.
judging you.
But
No
Aisha is coming from
judging.
a very educated place.
I've seen a lot of bad movies. So, what I can say is
Mhm,
that, and I'm actually basing it off of this year because
mhm,
that's, every year, all of these channels, sometimes they put more or less into a season, and you can really tell. And if you take into what Angela said, whether it's a writer strike
mhm,
or an actor strike or all these things that can affect the movies, it just makes more sense for me to compare it to ones I've already seen this season. And
mhm,
again, just to remind you, there's like 144 holiday movies, something like that, coming out just for this holiday season, so that you know how insane it is. So, of the ones that I have seen already, which is a lot, I and taking all of these categories into account, I think I would still, even though it had some issues, I still think I would give it like an 8 because it was funny,
okay,
and I
mhm,
thought that they were great. They were fun to look at. It was, my
mhm.
husband didn't hate it, and it doesn't take much for him to hate a holiday movie. Just, if it's not Die Hard, is it really a holiday movie? So that's what I'm working with. So, he didn't hate it, and he laughed a couple of times. So I think I'm gonna give it an 8. What about you?
I too am gonna give it an 8. That's so funny, and I did think that on my own. It's not just because you said it.
We'll
Uh,
never know.
we'll never know. For the same reason. I mean, I enjoyed it and was into it. Obviously, I had like critiques about it, but I really, like I said earlier, I liked that it felt a little different. It had a little different energy. I liked that it was kind of
Mhm.
there was a little bit of like raunchy comedy thing that they were going for. It was nice to see different people. And
Yeah,
I
right?
and yeah, and I felt like they really made an effort to make you understand what their relationship was beforehand and why they split up,
Mhm.
and I should also say there's also the sister has like a very small storyline. I like that the sister's a lesbian.
Yeah, me too.
You know like I felt like there was a it was a kind of a diverse family, and her parents were just
They were
I loved her,
adorable,
or his parents, I should
adorable.
say. I loved his
His
parents.
parents, yeah. His
Yeah,
parents
I
were
love.
so funny.
Yeah,
They were
they
so
were so
cute.
funny. All right. So I mean that's impressive. That's impressive. Eights for both of us.
Yay. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't you're not gonna hate it. So, I definitely think that, if you have to watch a movie again, there are a lot of bad ones out there. This is not one of them. So, so again, it's Xmas on Amazon Freevee, and give it a go. Let us know what you think. Up next is writer-director Clarence Williams IV in Behind the Curtain.
And now, behind the curtain, where we talk to creatives who make the holiday movies you love. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Behind the Curtain segment with writer Clarence Williams IV. And,
Yes.
one of the things that's really special about this segment, just to give people a little background, is, as many of you know, I co wrote and directed a Christmas movie that was on Lifetime called The New Orleans Noel. And one of the experiences I had in making it was being kind of blown away by all of the incredible talent in that
Mhm.
world. So many people writing, directing, working on all various crew positions to make all of these holiday movies. And so when Aisha and I were sort of envisioning this podcast, we were like, this is an opportunity to have conversations with these creatives. And so today we have Clarence with us. So Clarence, I'm going to read your bio. I trimmed it a little, but so Clarence Williams the
'Cause
fourth.
he's that 'cause he's that fabulous,
Exactly.
just so we're
He's
Oh,
clear,
that
you know?
fabulous. You
We'd
gotta,
be
you
here all
gotta,
day.
exactly,
you're too
We'd be here all
kind.
exactly.
day.
You're too kind to
Yeah,
me.
exactly. So just, so a few accolades. He graduated with honors from Carnegie Mellon University, where he received a BFA in directing from the John Wells Directing Program. Since moving to Los Angeles in 2015, Clarence's writing has earned accolades from esteemed competitions such as the Orb Media Group China Hollywood Writing Fellowship and the Continuance Pictures Short Film Initiative. His dedication to storytelling has also led to the founding of Williams IV Production, a production company he operates alongside his wife, Christina Arujo, am I saying that right? Williams, an
Arajo.
award. Arajo. See, I should ask you about that one. Arajo
No, it's
Williams,
okay.
an award-winning writer, producer, and casting director. And he wrote this film that's on BEC Plus called So Fly Christmas, which we're going to talk about. But first, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah. So first, Clarence, what made you want to be a writer? What do you love about writing?
Wow, that's a great question. I think for me, I love the storytelling aspect. I love creating worlds, creating characters. And I think this is something that I've been doing, not even I think, this is something that I've been doing since I was 3 years old. So before I even knew how to write, I would kind of just like yap and tell my parents different stories. And they'd have a little notebook handy and they just write down what I was saying. And then it got to a point where they're like,
Ooh.
okay, you need to learn how to write because we're not going to be writing all this stuff down for you. You need to do it yourself. So from there, I started writing on my own. So I think pretty much from like the age of like 6, 7 ish, I'm writing stories of all kinds, be like horror stories, comedy stories, love stories. Even though, as a kid, I probably didn't know much about love back then, but I thought I did. So I was writing a whole bunch of different stories. And then from there, I made the transition into being interested in film. But I would say the love of writing started when I was about 3, as a wee lassie, a youngin.
Mm.
I totally relate to that, and because I write as well, and I'm just like think of myself stories constantly running through my head all the time. Like that's just my norm. It's my background music. And what I was wondering is that so you actually, but you made it in directing, right? So what made you think about doing that? That you felt like you wanted to and you needed to do that as a storyteller?
So I think for me, so how I got into directing, it was more so I created a film for my history class when I was in the 5th grade. And when I first created that film, it was more so a way for me to get out of writing an essay. So I was like, can I do
Nice.
something creative? Because I didn't feel like writing a whole essay because the movie was about the history of Georgia. So I was like, I don't want to write a whole essay about the history of Georgia, talk to my teacher. Can I make a movie, do something artistic? And she was like, sure. So I was first surprised. I was like, oh, wow, she's actually going to let me write a film. I mean, and, write and direct a film. So that was kind of like the starting block or the little nugget that was planted in my head that made me think maybe I could, maybe film, directing, writing, maybe that's something that I can do, for real, something full time. So as a 10-year-old, with of course with the help of my parents, I made this little movie. I was in the movie. My mom was in the movie. I directed it, wrote the script. Um, I co-edited because back then I didn't really know about editing, so my mom did most of the editing back then.
Mhm.
I'm
But
so loving your mom right now. You do not
yeah, no, she
understand. You don't understand.
she's a trooper.
Mhm.
But
She's
yeah,
amazing.
thank you. But yeah, so after the movie was over, I presented it to my class. And I think watching it in a classroom and seeing people's reactions, they would
Yep.
laugh. They would kind of look at me like,
Mhm.
pointing like, I see you there.
Mhm.
And I think from that moment, that's when I realized, maybe, this is something that I can really, really pursue. And then ever since then, I've kind of just been embedded in the film world. I've loved writing and directing. I love to do both, but I think my first love is writing. But
Mhm.
I would say like after making that movie in the fifth grade, I was like, directing is pretty cool. Let me see what I can do with this. And then ever since,
You're
you would say the rest is the rest.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Your teacher is still gonna look for a credit on your next movie,
I
just so you
know.
know.
You're right.
She's like, it's because of me.
They're
I
all because of me.
know.
I did it.
So, screenwriting is such a complicated genre. Like it's a very specific genre. It's very different than, like short stories or, any other. So what is it about screenwriting that you love? What is it about that genre that just speaks to you?
I think I think because me personally, I like to think of myself as like a very creative person. And I think in
Mhm,
a way, screenwriting is it's kind of like you're the mastermind of your own world. So you're
mhm.
creating this world from scratch. You're creating the characters. You're determining what they say, how they look, how they behave. So it's kind of powerful if you think about it. It's like all of these worlds. When you watch TV shows, movies, everything starts with a script. And I think, and unfortunately, I feel like sometimes writers don't always get the credit that they deserve. But there really
Preach,
is no
preach,
project. There's no
preach,
Mhm.
project without the
sir.
script.
Yes.
So that's why I'm
Thank
so
Yeah.
glad like the
you.
strike is over because it's like you gotta pay people what they're owed. You gotta like you can't take people for granted. Writers, actors, like a lot of people behind the scenes, they do a lot of work
For
and they
the
deserve the
people in
credit.
the back. For the
Yeah.
They
people in
Yeah.
the
deserve the
back.
credit.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you because, yeah, there are no movies without, with rap writers and people forget that. Um
Exactly.
so so what is the process of writing a film like this, like a Christmas movie? Because a lot of people who listen are really kind of curious about, what is that process like? Did you have an idea first and then you kind of wrote something, or did you pitch a lot of different things and then people said, "Oh, not this idea, but that one," and you moved forward? Like what was that process like?
So my process was the whole process of getting Soulfly made was a little crazy in the sense that so as a filmmaker because I also in addition to writing I also direct. So I've created a variety of short films, and one of my shorts attracted the attention of a producer. So the producer
Mm,
contacted me, and then from there we kind of formed this, not even a working relationship but just kind of like a casual like, hey, how you doing, what are you working on? And then from there it transitioned into, well, hey, I'm in the process of submitting some projects to BT. They're interested in Christmas films, thrillers. Do you
Ah.
have a Christmas
oh,
script? So this is where it gets crazy because I didn't have a Christmas script, but I told him, oh yeah, I got a script. And he
Of
said, okay,
course.
sure. Because yeah,
oh my
that's what
gosh.
I always tell people. And I'm sure the both of you can understand, like just as a writer, sometimes you gotta
You
go
gotta
for it.
hustle. You
Exactly.
gotta
You gotta
Mhm.
hustle.
hustle.
You
Exactly.
gotta do it
Mhm.
all day, all night.
Yep.
So so it started with so he requested a treatment. And that's when I was like, he was like, "Do you have a treatment?" I said, "Yeah, of course." Didn't have that, didn't have an idea, didn't have anything. But as soon as he said, "Okay, send it over," I was like, "Oh, I didn't
Right.
expect him to react that quick." But I was like, "Yeah, let me go work on that real quick."
Mhm.
So I will say though, technically, I did have an idea to do a movie or a romantic comedy about two black women in a way that you hadn't seen it before. So I did have that
Mhm.
idea kind of as a way to pay tribute to my mom and to my parents. And actually, just a side
Mhm.
note, the main characters in Stuff Like Christmas, Dion and Clarence, are named after my parents. My dad's name was Clarence, and my mom's name is Dion.
Ah,
Oh, I
So
I
love
did
that.
notice the Clarence part.
yeah,
Clearly, I
everybody,
wouldn't have known your mama's name, but I was like,
right?
Yeah.
just put
I
put
noticed the
yourself in the
Clarence part.
movie.
Well, I was also
Yeah.
like, put yourself in the movie. Look at that as like the handsome lead.
Well, because he
Yeah,
had a whole
everyone thought.
moment. He had a whole moment being like, "By the way, my name is Clarence." There was like
Yeah,
there was time around it.
I
It was
know
like
No,
exactly.
it's funny.
FYI.
A lot of people think I did that for myself. They're like, "Oh, that's smart. You put your name in there." But it's like, no, no,
Mhm.
that was a tribute to my dad. It wasn't. He just happened to be named Clarence also, but it's not. It wasn't for me. But but yeah. So after I had toying with that idea of a romantic comedy, and not even just a romantic comedy, I wanted to explore friendship as well because I feel like So Fly Christmas, yes, it's a love story, a romantic love story, but it's also a platonic love story. And I
Oh
think that
yeah.
aspect of the story is even
Absolutely.
stronger than the romantic element. So
Absolutely.
I already had that idea of wanting to tell that type of story. I just didn't really know what was going to come of it. But when I was presented with the opportunity to write a Christmas film, I was like, you know what? Technically, this film could be a Christmas film. And then that's when I started putting the pieces together, and then from there, I
Mhm.
wrote the treatment. I submitted the treatment. And of course, I'm sure, as you also know as well, as writers, it's a lot of no's. It's a lot of
Yeah.
people,
Mhm.
not hearing back at all. So I
Mhm.
didn't think much of it. I submitted the treatment and I was like, okay, well, moving on.
Yep.
But then about, like, I would say like 2 weeks later, he reached back out and said, hey, do you have a script? They're interested in the treatment. And I was like, they are? So once again, he's like, "Do you have that? You have a script?" I said, "Yeah, of course, I got a script.
Sure,
I
sure,
just have
sure.
to put some finishing touches on it."
Right, right, right.
And
Like a
of
beginning, middle, and
course,
end on it. On
exactly,
it.
as in the whole script, the whole 90
Yeah.
page script.
Oh my
So I
god.
took another
How
2 weeks.
long? Yeah. How long did it take
Right?
you to write that?
So it took me 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but I was kind of stalling because he would reach out and say, "Hey, where's the script?" I'm like, "Oh, you know what? It's just I was kind of stuck on this one part. I just want to make sure it's good. I just have to proofread and
Right,
you know,
right,
I
right,
just
right, right.
I just kept it going. So that's also advice I would give writers is don't turn down any opportunity unless you really don't believe you can do it. But honestly, these opportunities don't come every day. So if they come, I
True.
Exactly.
say go for it. So, and it ended up paying off. So I wrote the script 2 weeks, send it in. Now, this was more of it was a longer process after I submitted the full script. And that's when I
Mhm.
thought, okay, they don't want it. I guess it's going to be a silent pass. But then I would say like a month later, he reached out to me. Well, first he sent me an email and then he texted me and said, check your email. And I was like, why do I have to check my email? So I checked the email and then it says BT and then like dot, dot, dot. Like it was a real dramatic email. So it's like dot 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 dot, and I have to keep scrolling. Then at the
Yeah.
bottom, I see it says we are interested in moving forward with this film and adding it to our slate. And from that moment,
Mm.
that's when I was like, oh wow, so this may. I think I was kind of paranoid throughout the whole
Wow.
process because I was like, this is not gonna happen. Things because I've been so close before, and at the last minute, nope, we're not
Right.
making
Of
it.
course.
So I didn't think anything of it. But then as time went on, then I got paid, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a real. Like,
Yo,
wait,
when the
they
money
Yeah.
really want
hits,
the script. So yeah,
it's
when the money
real.
hits, it's real. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess this is a real.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's incredible. So you're not in the union, right? So
No,
that was,
I'm a non-union.
so that was part of like, they reached out to you, you saw this opportunity, you ran with it.
Hmm.
And then once you got like all the contracting stuff together. So what was it like to work with BET? So they've given you the yes. And I'm sure you had to get notes. I'm sure there were notes. There's never no notes. So,
Yes,
what was the note
yes, there
process
were.
like? And specifically, what I'm interested in is, I did a movie for Lifetime, and there are with Christmas movies, there's sort of like really specific things that they're looking for in sort of the Lifetime space, right? So I wondered if
Right.
BET Plus had those similar things, and what maybe some of those are, in addition to what the notes process was like.
Excellent. And I actually would like a follow up question just to ask you what it was like working with Lifetime because I've seen a bunch of Lifetime movies
Oh
and
yeah.
especially loving to see you don't see a lot of black people in Lifetime movies so just to see like
No, you
you
don't.
that's great. I love it. So I would love to hear just a little bit about your process as well. But
Yeah.
so for BT, yes, there was a lot of notes, a lot of notes. So
Sure, sure.
it kind of threw me off because this is my first time. I always say like I'm more of like an indie guy, so I've never really. This is my first time working with like a studio, so I had to get
Mhm.
used to the rewrite process, the notes, and understanding that it's not personal. It's just they have a format that they have to follow, and your
Mhm.
script
Right.
needs to kind of adhere to those guidelines.
Right.
Mhm.
So, but I would say well, actually, I'm exaggerating a little bit. The notes weren't
Mhm.
that long, but it
Mhm.
was just more so. So, for example, I didn't have a B story in the original draft. The movie more
Okay.
so just focused on the love story between, well, the friendship between Yvette and Dion, and then she fell in love with Clarence, and then her trying to keep that a secret. So BT
Mhm.
actually was saying, you know what, you need another story in there. Make sure that Sierra, the daughter, maybe give her something to do. And that's when
Yeah.
I came up with the other subplot of her being a
Mhm.
writer and dealing with the
Mhm.
professor. So it's like things like that. They kind of helped enhance the story. So I would say a lot of
Mhm.
notes were just more so revolved around enhancing the story, maybe condensing. So there was moments where they would tell me, it's funny, but you don't need to add that much. Maybe dial it back a little bit for certain
Mhm.
things. So it's a lot of condensing and a lot of kind of just getting used to that, to their format. But I would say the notes were very helpful, and I think now moving forward, it's helped me um, kind of understand what they're looking for in projects. And luckily, because of Soulfly, actually the production company that ended up producing it in partnership with BT, Worldwide Entertainment and Media, I actually have several other projects in development with them
Mhm.
based off Soulfly. So I'm definitely getting into the mode of kind of what BT looks for in other studios and companies. So it's definitely been a very
Mhm.
helpful process for me. I think it's made me an even better writer. So,
Yeah.
but of course, it was a little bit of a shock at first. I'm like, oh dang, I got to change this and things. You don't like this? You think that was funny? Like it was just like little things like that. And but I think ultimately
Yeah.
it made the film better.
Oh yeah.
So,
I
I mean,
mean,
oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Ish.
No, no, no. I was just thinking that, it's you're not directing it, right? This is like, and I always find this really interesting, right? It's because when you're writing these things, you're thinking it from your how you would direct
Right.
it, what it would look like, all of that stuff, right? And it's very different. And I can say
Mhm.
this because I write and I don't direct, right? So
Oh, don't direct.
for
Okay.
me, right. And so for me, when you write all these things, you have this vision in your head, but you realize it's about to be filtered through somebody else's eye when it hits a screen. And that's definitely a process. So I'm thinking, for you, what was that like to watch this thing that you wrote get filtered through somebody else's, directing process as a director? And, how is that for you?
Well, it was kind of well, it was a kind of a surreal moment because so Terry J.
Right.
Vaughn was the director.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
well, honestly, just another just quick side note, just the cast in general in this film, it just kind of blew me away because
Yeah.
I'm
It's
a
incredible.
'90s, right? I'm a
So
'90s
good.
baby, so
Yeah.
So good.
I grew up watching like Sister Sister, Martin, Steve Harvey show,
Mhm.
so in Living Color. So to see Tommy Davidson and Tashina Arnold and Jack A. Harris, I'm just like whoa, and then also
Exactly.
directed by Terry J. Vaughn, so I was able to actually have like phone calls and Zoom calls with her. And I'm the whole time I'm playing it very cool, just like very nice to meet you. But in my head, I'm like, that's Terry J. Vaughn, like that's Levita from
Exactly.
Steve Harvey. So
I
I had
know.
to
I
kind of
know.
I had to calm down the
Right, right, right.
fanboy, but but it was definitely a fun process. I think more so than I think other experiences with writers and studios. I actually was able to have a lot of input, so I was
Mm.
able to kind of give certain notes on things. I was able
Oh,
to
wow.
provide feedback on certain things, like on cuts of the film and things like that, which I know writers don't really ever get.
No, they do
Yeah.
not.
So
So that's
I
so
definitely am
awesome.
appreciative of
Mm.
that. But I think, and also another thing that surprised me. So of course, as since I didn't direct it, there were moments in the script that weren't, or moments in the film that were not in my original script, and it was like, it happens. But surprisingly, I would say for the most part, they stuck to the script, and that's what actually surprised me. Like certain scenes, I was like, whoa, they actually said it as written. Because especially
Mhm.
with comedians, I'm thinking they're gonna just change everything. But
Right,
a
right,
lot of
right.
it, they actually stayed true to the script. So I was just happy. I could hear like the lines and the scenes that I wrote. I could hear that come out in the performances, and I was
Right.
like, oh, you know what? I like that. Like they stayed true to the story.
Yeah. I mean, I was wondering, that was the question I had, was how much improv happened
Mhm.
in watching the film, because these are incredible comedians. And and
Yes.
I love, as someone who writes and directs, I love improv, because especially with comedy, if they have a better joke, let them say the better joke.
Right.
Go with
Let them do it. Let them
it.
do it. Right. They'll make
Makes
the
Go
my
film
for
better.
movie
it.
better. Exactly. Makes my movie
Exactly.
better.
Yeah,
And you get all the
yeah.
credit.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what was like a moment in the film that you were saying that wasn't something you wrote, but sort of like, came up when they were filming? That just, that wasn't in the original script.
So actually, I know the perfect moment. So there's a scene with Yvetta where she's having dinner with her parents, played by Michael
Mm-hmm.
Collier and Jack A. Harry.
Mm-hmm.
So in the script, there's a reference to Yvetta, the Tashina Arnold character, being a cat lady. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was scripted. But what wasn't scripted was Michael Collier, the whole and her like do
Oh
it
yeah.
Oh
again,
my
do it
gosh.
again. All that stuff was not in the script. So that is what I think was it made the film even better. It made it the film was hilarious, and I think just that moment really. I think one, it really established the bond between the parent characters. You can see the love, but also it's funny, and that I didn't write that. That was just them kind of vibing off each
Mm-hmm.
other and the chemistry they had. So I thought that was great. I was like, what? I didn't write that, but hey, that was funny. I can't even deny
It
like,
was
that was hilarious.
awesome. It was,
Yeah.
and that would have looked crazy on the page anyway.
It would
So
have. It really would have.
Yeah.
it totally worked. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I think also there's the Yule log stuff. Was that you? There's a whole segment for folks, yeah, who and you should check out the film on BET Plus. It's streaming now. But there's a whole Yule log section, which I won't spoil for people, but it's kind of funny and made me think about we all, that bit I wondered, was that in the script? It's a
So
funny moment.
funny enough, that actually was scripted. That whole scene was
Okay.
scripted. The whole Yuletide,
Mm-hmm.
everything that happens
Yeah.
in that was scripted, and they actually stuck to the script pretty much. I would say like 99% with that scene. So that was funny to see because I think, but also just when you work with comedians, you have comedians on set, they just bring out the comedy in a way that
Absolutely.
a different type of actor wouldn't be able to. So I'm just really really happy for how it was cast and just the how the team was brought together and it's like I said, it was very surreal to kind of see characters that I wrote being brought to life by people that I grew up watching on TV. It's just, and then also you got to get kind of brownie points because when people see like, oh, you got a Christmas movie coming out and who's in it? Oh, Tashina Arnold.
Yep.
Oh, Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that so much. My friends are like, what? Like, how did you
Mm-hmm.
get them in the movie? So it just makes me look like, hey, I mean, hey, it's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Angela knows that one
Yeah.
from experience. Like
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
bragging about this
Patty
woman.
LaBelle was in my Christmas movie,
Ooh,
and
Patty LaBelle.
that's a
That's
flex
crazy.
that I will have forever.
Yeah. Flex
Forever. I
that.
was like,
Flex that all
tattoo it
day.
on your forehead, just right here.
Yeah,
Was
just
she in
anybody
your
who
movie?
listen. Yeah, yeah. It's
That's
and it
crazy. Patty
helps. It
LaBelle.
really it really helps like legitimize you in a key ways.
Oh
One of the
yes.
things
Yes.
that I was thinking about and what you were talking about, these big names. This isn't a question really; it's like a comment, but is about these incredible Black actors who are looking for work. And I think one of the things that is special about these holiday movies is you can get actors of this caliber because there's not enough quality work for these kind of
Mm-hmm.
actors. And so it's like we're fortunate in that we can get this caliber of actor, but then it's also frustrating that they can't
hmm
get more work.
Yes.
That's why it's really one of the things I really love about this genre is the ability for Black actors to work at this level, to be able to make movies that kind of get in
Absolutely.
people's households.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's because kind of what you said. I couldn't agree more. Like there's an era right now where it's just a lot of times you don't want to give opportunities to to the veterans, the people that have been doing this for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you just said. Like that is what I noticed because even though I was surprised that they did the movie, thinking about it, I'm kind of not surprised, and not even to say like it's because of my script. It's just because of the role and what you said, like the elements
Mm-hmm.
of the Christmas film. It's a commercial genre, has a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that people can it has a lot of rewatchability. And I don't, I
Yeah.
mean, I would
Absolutely.
see why I can understand why a lot of actors want to be involved in projects like that, especially like you said, like they're not really being given those types of opportunities. So
Yeah. Yeah,
And also
absolutely.
there's a nostalgia part
Yes.
when you have these caliber of actors in a film that has so much value in the community at large that I mean like you're absolutely right. I mean, I sat there with my husband and like I know my mom is just going to be all just because we that's something we really appreciate as a community.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I what I loved about the film. But I just want to say, did we give the plot of the film at all?
I don't
About what
know.
this
We should
wonderful
say we should.
I
Yeah,
I feel
Aish,
like we should. I
why
think
don't you say the plot of the film?
really?
Yeah.
Okay, you you want
On the
me
spot.
to look at the writer and
I
say,
know.
"Let me tell you what your movie is
I was just
about."
listening.
All
I was
right.
like, I'm listening to see what you say. I'm like,
Um, I don't feel like
All
that
right.
would be
Clarence,
right.
what's your movie about? What's your movie about?
okay,
I
so
just move forward, assuming people have looked it up, they've seen it. But you
I
know what,
hope
Clarence?
so.
Give people a little, recap of what's the film about.
Yes, sir.
Sure. So yeah, so it is a romantic comedy. It is about a woman named Wyvetta who is stood up at the altar on Christmas Eve. Because of this, it leads
Excuse
her
me, Miss
into a
Ladies.
great
The
rage, great
cornier the better.
depression, and she kind of is
Which they
feeling
may be.
hopeless. Her best friend Dion, who she runs a podcast program with, kind of
With
catches this
us.
plan. Right,
Mm-hmm.
DNY So Fly. That's the name of their podcast. So,
Mm-hmm.
kind of being a good friend, she kind of hatches a plan. Well, they kind of hatch a plan together to give up on love, renounce love, relationships, men. They're done with it. They're done with
Mm-hmm.
love, and that's actually the movement that they start in the film is done with love. So, or down with love, actually. See, I'm even forgetting. It's changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
But so over the course of the film, um, Dion ends up falling in love with a very nice man who's a record shop owner. His name is Clarence. And as their relationship is blossoming, Dion is feeling things that she hasn't felt in a long time. And she really doesn't know what to do because she made this vow with her best friend to give up on love. But at the same time, she is falling in love. So the film kind of follows the silliness, the fun, the humor, and also the insight that comes with keeping a secret from a friend. And you see how things progress. And of course, it's all told through the under the backdrop of Christmas.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And tell us a
Yes.
little bit about who is in your movie. I want you to have this moment to tell us all about all the wonderful people that are in this movie.
Yes, so we have there's a very, very, very talented cast. So
Heck yeah.
Wyvetta is played by Tashina Arnold. And if you don't know Tashina Arnold, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a
I mean
legend.
Martin, Everybody Loves Christmas. I mean
Maria,
she's
everybody
amazing.
hates Chris. Yeah.
the
So
neighborhood
Yeah,
for
everybody
the
hates
new
yeah, the
Christmas. The
people,
neighborhood,
neighborhood. Yes.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Neighborhood. So and then Tammy Roman plays Dion, and Tammy Roman is another very talented actress. Kind of got her start doing reality TV, and then has
Hmm.
transitioned to doing a lot of film. And she actually works a lot. I've always seen on my feed
She
on
does.
Instagram and stuff. Like she booked another one. I think she has no, two other Christmas movies on the BET slate as well. Or she's on the Miss
Stop.
Pat show. She has a holiday
Yes,
episode
she
of the
is.
Miss Pat show, and then she has another Christmas movie in addition to SoFly. So yeah, she
Right.
working. She stayed busy.
Mm.
And then we also
She was
have
great. They were both great in this movie. They really
they
are.
Yeah,
were.
they
They were
were.
great.
Yeah.
They really were. I think they had great chemistry. We also have the fine talents of Jack A. Harry and Michael Collier, who play Wyvetta's parents, Myron and Harriet Hawthorne. We have the
Hysterical.
love interest, Clarence, not dedicated to me, but dedicated to my
Nope.
dad, played
There we go.
by Rob Riley, who's very, very talented actor. I think just to give him a shout out as well, I think watching the film, I never really saw who could play that role until I
Mhm.
saw him come to life. And when I saw him and how
Mhm.
he interpreted the character, I was like, that's perfect. Like he had the
Mhm.
charm, the humor, the silliness, but also still had that the kind of like the romantic element as well. And I was like, yeah, he got it.
Yeah.
He did
And
a he did
they had
really
good
good.
chemistry. It's
They
very we
did.
talk about in this podcast the
All
importance
the
of good
time.
chemistry. There's a lot of Christmas movies where it's a good-looking guy and a good-looking girl, but there's nothing there. And this movie
Yes,
they had nice
yes,
chemistry. They did. Yeah.
they did. They really did.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
so they it was a great project. We also have Larissa Lala Romaine who plays Sierra, who did a very great job. We
She was great.
have I'm trying to think. Oh, and we also, of course, Yeah, Tommy Davidson. I couldn't
I was
forget
gonna
Tommy
say
Yeah.
Davidson.
Tommy
He's
Davidson.
We were gonna have you. If you didn't bring him up, we were good. We got you.
I know. I was like,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so Tommy Davidson, he plays a character. He's called the pastor, but he has another
Mhm.
name. But I won't say much about that until you
Yeah.
watch the film.
Yeah.
But he's
Mhm.
in there as well. And yeah, it's just been a great cast, and it's directed, of course, by the very talented Terry J. Vaughn, who's actress, director, and yeah, she does it all. And it's
Yeah.
a great team, and I'm just very grateful that these people came together and were a part of this project.
Yeah. I One thing I want to say about the friendship, because there's a love interest, but it's really the love story is about their friendship, and I'm glad you said that kind of earlier on, because that's something that we talk about in this podcast. Aisha and I have been friends basically our whole lives,
Oh, I love
and
it.
so
You mean wait? You mean the two best friends who have a
And you have a
podcast
podcast.
right
You have a
now?
podcast.
Really?
That's
exactly,
Really?
I love
and
Really?
it.
I mean,
By
I will
chance?
say,
By
I
chance?
I know Tashina Arnold's character. I mean, Tashina Arnold is such a good actress. Just on an aside, like everything she says, you believe her. You're just like, yeah, girl. At
Yes.
the
Yeah, she's great.
end, I really liked. This is spoiler a little bit, but at the end, when she's kind of talking about, she was very upset when she found out, that Tammy Roman, was with someone, and she kind
Mhm.
of talks about her feelings about that and how she felt kind of left out, and there was just like a speech she gives that I will say I felt personally, Clarence. Like I was like, wow, a man wrote that, because I
I know
have
you.
been in those shoes.
Seriously?
I have had that
Oh, thank you.
conversation with said Aisha, and I was really like,
I
"Oh my
wasn't gonna say
god!"
it. I wasn't gonna
I
say it.
mean,
Okay.
I'm as married now, but when I wasn't, and it was most of my life, and I just like Aisha got married a lot younger than me, and I just like
Oh,
I
so you
felt
felt
it.
the.
I felt it,
Oh
and
man.
I appreciated
Mm.
that very much. I just like
I
I'm like
Oh,
was.
thank
okay.
you.
I ain't saying jack. I am not saying anything. I am taking your lead as best
Plead the
friends
fifth.
should. I
Yeah,
understood
I'm
what
just
Tammy was
I'm
like.
sharing because that's what this space is for.
Mm.
No, I mean but I was very impressed, like because it was like
Me
a
too.
beat. Just as a writer, just thinking about like a lot of these movies there's a lot of predictability, and you sort of
Yes.
what beats are coming, what emotional arcs they're kind of trying to tie up, and that was a whole other motivation for why she was doing what she was doing that just felt really real, and I just really
Right.
appreciated that and applaud you for it, because
Oh, thank
it's
you.
nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's nice when those kind of moments happen where you're like, oh, I
Right.
I felt that.
You feel
And
it.
Yeah.
no, seriously, it felt like felt like it was for us, which I thought was really funny. But I'll be honest with you,
Mhm.
sometimes when I see that it's a male writer and that there are
Mhm.
going to be female protagonists, I am
Mhm.
concerned
Yeah.
about the ability to do that, right? To
Mhm.
remember that these are women and how women approach a situation. And I appreciated the effort that was put in for their voices. And how did you get into that with that
Mhm.
understanding of how to write for these women?
Mhm.
So I think it was a combination of things. I mean, a lot of it goes back to once again, I give my mom a lot of shout outs. I think it's also
Go
just listening
mama.
to my mom, and she also has like a troop of girlfriends who are kind of like my aunties. So just like over the years, growing up, spending time with them, listening to them, and also I got to give credit to my wife as well. A lot of times, especially like when I was not when I was like first writing, but earlier in my relationship with my wife before we were married, I would send her scripts and things, and she'd always tell me, "Oh, it sounds like a guy wrote this." And I would get upset. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm writing smart characters and she's a woman. She's like, no, it sounds like a guy. So I think that also played a part in my head. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
let me just strip the whole me being a guy and just write purely from like embodying these characters. So I think it was a combination of different things. And I also I would say certain lines to my wife and say like, would a woman say that? And she would say, yeah, yeah, or she's like, no, that she wouldn't say that. But I think the biggest compliment is because when we watched it, my mom had seen this movie like seven, eight, nine, 10 times already, and she's gonna watch it again. But I visited my mom for the holidays. My mom, my wife, we all watched Still Fly Together, And the biggest compliment my wife gave me was she said, "It doesn't sound like a guy wrote this." And I was like,
Mhm.
I was like so happy. I was like, finally, like
Yeah.
Because of
I
all of these
succeeded. Like,
amazing you have
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
amazing women in your life
I
Mhm.
do.
that
Yeah.
is just such a
I do. I'm
blessing.
very,
Like,
very grateful.
seriously.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
All
Now
right,
I
so
know,
listen. Go ahead.
Aisha, go ahead, Aisha. I was gonna say Aisha has one final question for you.
I just wanted to get this in here because, okay, as you know, this is a podcast that focuses on romantic Christmas movies primarily, which is what
Right.
you created. Thank you. Adding to the genre, and I wanted to know from you, like, what are your favorite Christmas movies? What are ones that come to mind? Top three, if you can come up with, like, Christmas movies that that are big in your heart.
So I think the one big Christmas movie that I love Home Alone. I mean, that has nothing to do with romance, has nothing to do
Nice.
with,
It's all good.
that
It's all
format, but
good.
I just love
It's
that
a
story. I
Christmas
love,
movie.
exactly, it's a Christmas movie, it's a kid outsmarting the bad guys and the booby traps. Only thing I'll say is, of course, some of those booby traps, even as a kid, I would watch it and be like, how did they not die from
Oh
that amount
yeah.
of injury? But,
Sure. Sure.
you got to suspend,
Sure.
suspend the disbelief.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
But I think my other
Or leaving
favorites,
leaving your child at home and just forgetting about them
twice,
completely.
twice, they did
Sure.
it twice.
Sure. Yes, they
So
did. Yes, they
that's
did.
more of that's a legal issue coming in, you leaving
Sure.
it,
Sure.
twice.
Sure.
Mhm.
But so I love the Home Alones 1 and 2. I think another big one I love is This Christmas. I love kind of like
Oh,
Mhm.
of
stories
course.
about family, especially Black
Mhm.
families, because it's very
Yeah.
relatable. You can
Mhm.
watch a film like that and be like, oh, that's my cousin, or oh, that's my aunt, or oh, that's me. So I think that's a story, and I've seen that so many times, it never gets old. So I would
And now
Mhm.
you
definitely
have
say
the
This
song stuck
Christmas.
in my head. You got the
Oh yeah,
song
but
stuck in
hey,
my
it's a
head.
good
Thank
song.
you.
It's a good
Thank
song
you.
to
It
have.
is. It
Thank you.
is.
And then I
Now it's
think
there.
my other right, exactly. Then my other favorite I would say would be Best Man Holiday. I think
Nice.
that is,
Yeah.
I want not to give any
Nice.
spoilers, but it's not the happiest of films, but I think still a lot of comedy, a lot of love, a
Mhm.
lot of heart. So that's another movie that I always found myself going back to and watching. I would say those three are the ones that kind of get me. I got to watch those every year, every Christmas,
Mhm.
every
Mhm.
Fair.
holiday. Wait, but
Fair,
Yeah.
fair,
let me
fair.
flip it. What are some of your favorite holiday movies?
Oh.
Go ahead, Miss
Well,
Tucker.
yeah. I'm just gonna say one that popped up just when you were talking. I mean, that we have many films, but
We do.
The Family Stone is a Christmas movie that
Ooh,
people forget is like Christmas movie.
True.
Starring a lot of people: Rachel McAdams, Dermot Mulroney. I think Diane Keaton's in it. A
Sarah.
lot
I
of
think
people are in it.
Sarah Jessica
Sarah
Parker. I
Jessica
think too.
Parker, yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love those kind of big family movies that somehow everyone has like their own little piece of the story. And
Sure.
Right.
so that's kind of a favorite for me. I have many others, but I'll just say that one. Aisha, what about one for you?
Oh, I feel like I'm gonna be judged right now. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So I love classic movies. Like, I mean, I love, when I was a kid, I loved, Miracle on 34th Street, and
Mm.
Mhm.
and It's a Wonderful Life. I thought it was great. But in addition to that, again, keep your judgments to yourself, people. Um I really loved the Divas Christmas Carol, the one with Vanessa Williams in it.
Oh
I don't
Oh,
yeah, I
Take Me
remember
that
that.
Back.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I don't know why that gave me all the, I mean, I bet A Christmas Carol a gazillion times just because, again, English lit major, right?
Mhm.
Right.
And but they had so much fun with, like, the 80s and, like, the singing group and
Mhm.
all of that stuff, and I just thought it was so much fun. Like, I just thought, I love the mix of old lit, and then you throw in, so, some Black characters that just had such a good time with it, and I thought I thought they did a great job. I thought it was fun. It I just get all the giggles every single time with, like, the songs in there. It just cracks me
Mhm.
up every time.
Hey, no,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. That's a good one. That's a good
Thank
Yeah.
you.
choice.
I appreciate your support. I appreciate your support.
Yeah. Well, Clarence, thank you so much for joining us. This is a great conversation. And
Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
So Fly Christmas is streaming on BET Plus, and they're going to rebroadcast it like 1,000 times.
As
But
they
feel free to
should.
watch it on the app. Yeah, thanks so much. This has been a great conversation.
Thank
Can't wait
you.
to see what else you do.
Likewise, and I'm going to watch your Christmas film as well. So don't. That is on my list. I'm
Oh.
going to watch it. Gotta support.
It's
Gotta support.
yeah,
Gotta
stream it's
support.
on the Lifetime app right now. So you can
Excellent.
watch it.
I'm watching.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
watching
yeah,
it.
yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So that's us for now. We're super excited to do this with you again because, again, we're going to be watching these movies anyway. So it's nice to just have fun with each other, but also with you, and hopefully helping you weed out some movie watching and to learn a little bit more about the industry. So until next time.
Yeah. So just remember you can follow us where you can find all places, all things podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon has podcasts, all the things. Facebook for the love of tinsel, Instagram for the love of tinsel. Please find us there. And you can also watch us and subscribe on YouTube. Please go to our For the Love of Tinsel channel and like, subscribe, all that stuff. And we want to thank our amazing producer, Dwayne Freefume, and Nika Troy, our production assistant. And until next week, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.